Hello dear students, today we are going to explain History Lesson 1 of Class 8th CBSE Board. How, when and where. So in this lesson we are going to know about how the things had happened in history, when they had happened and where they had happened. Let us start. The emergence of nationalism. Nationalism means what? Nationalism is a feeling of respect and responsibility towards your nation. History is about changes that occur over time. It was not like what used to be done, what used to be followed in medieval period or ancient period. We are following the same in this period also. Lot of things have changed, from people walking in the caravans on the horse through the bullock carts. Now the time has come, people have started moving from place to place using planes, using metro trains, using bullet trains, using their personal vehicles. So this is change. So history is all about change. It is about finding out how things were in the past and how things have changed now. As soon as we compare the past with the present, we refer to time before and after. What used to happen before and what used to happen thereafter. So this is all history is about. Next is how important are dates in history. Very much important, I can say. Now see this picture. Brahmins in this pictures, they are offering Shastra to Britannia. Front piece to the first map produced by James Rennell in 1782. Rennell was asked by Robert Clive to produce map of Hindustan. Robert Clive, who was he? He was the first governor of Bengal Presidency, whose tenure was 1746 to 74. In class 7th, you have read about the Mughal Empire. By the end of the book, you knew that 3 main provinces which separated and they became independent. And those 3 provinces were Awadh, Bengal and Hyderabad. When Bengal became independent from Mughal Empire, it became weak and the people from other country, they came to capture it. And one such country was Britain. And the company of British East India, it captured the entire territory of Bengal. The all story you will read in the coming lesson of class 8. So right now let us focus on what is in this lesson. So Robert Clive was the first governor of Bengal Presidency, and he asked one of his officer, his name was James Rennell, to make one map of India. Now why maps were required? Maps were required to know the country more better way, because if you don't know how much territory or how much region you are ruling on, then it is of no use. Okay, so one, you need to know the, suppose if you are ruling some country, if you are ruling your house, then also you need to come to know about the various rooms of your house, various members of your house. Similarly, when Britishers are ruling our country, so before that they should know the geographical area of our country, and for that purpose he had asked Rennell to make a map of the Bengal and Bihar presidency. The picture here tries to suggest, so what is actually being depicted in this picture, that Indians are willingly giving their ancient text to the Britannia, and this Britannia is a symbol of British power, as if Indians are asking her to become the protector of Indian culture. Now, who the Britannia is? In British time, Indian people, they were unable to pronounce it. They used to call her Britannia. You must have heard this term in many Hindi movies, I mean Bollywood movies, Bollywood patriotic movies. Britannia, it is a feminine word which means Britain, usually depicted as a helmeted woman with shield and trident. You must have seen the picture of Bharat Mata also. So when we worship our country, we think of a image. We think of an image which is riding a lion and which is holding the flag of India in her hand. So India is also depicted as a female goddess. Similarly, Britain was also depicted by, although she is not a goddess, but she is an image who is depicting Britain. How important are dates? There was a time when history was an account of battles and big events. Whenever we talk about history, so there are a lot of battles which we read about. It was about rulers and their policies. What policies Ashoka had done before the Kalinga War, what policies he had changed after the Kalinga War, what policies were there of the Rajput rulers before the coming of Mughal Empire into India, what policies they changed after the entry of Mughal empires into the India. So it is about various policies, lives of rulers, and when a king was crowned, when the year he got married, and the year he got a child, and the year he fought a particular war, and the year he died, and the year the next ruler succeeded to the throne. For events such as these, which I gave you the examples of, specific date can be determined. Like in which year Kalinga War was fought, it is known. In which year Lord Buddha he took birth, in which year Lord Buddha he left this world, in which year Maharaja Shivaji he sat on the throne. So there are many important events for which dates have been mentioned in the historical text, but not for all the daily routines. Means in which year he had shaved his head, in which year he had gone for hunting. So these small events were not mentioned in any book. Consider an example. In the histories written by British historian India, the rule of each governor general was important. So the mentioning the history was and maintaining the document was started by Britishers in India. They were very systematic, used to do their work very systematic. So whenever some new appointment used to come to their office, they used to mention it down in their records. Thus it began with the rule of first Governor General, he was Warren Hastings, and it ended with the last Viceroy, who was Lord Mountbatten. So in between these two, Governor General and Viceroy, there were many Governor Generals who came in, but you will find exact date of everyone in the British records. How do we periodize? What do you mean by periodize? Periodize means to put and to classify few events as per the period. In 1817, James Mill, a Scottish economist and political philosopher, published a massive 3-volume work, A History of British India. In this book, he had divided Indian history into 3 portions: Hindu history, Muslim history, and British history. But nowadays, we don't call our history by these 3 names. Let us move forward. The periodization came to be widely accepted. Can you think of any problem with this way of looking at Indian history? Do you think the way he had divided Indian history is right? No. Why do we try and divide history into different periods? We do so in an attempt to capture the characteristic of a time change from one period to the next. Suppose this is one picture. When I say you relate it with one period, then the answer comes to your mind is these instruments, these weapons belong to the ancient period. So ancient period is a category. We have categorized, we have periodized it that few things had happened only in the ancient period. See the next picture. Now can you imagine these weapons? They were available in ancient time. Can you think of Lord Rama fighting to Ravan with these weapons? No, because we know that these weapons were not in the ancient period. They had come and they had been introduced in India during the medieval period, during the period of Mughals. So this way we categorize, we relate things to the various periods. In any case, can we refer to any period of history as Hindu or Muslim? Did not a variety of faiths exist simultaneously in this period? Why should we characterize an age only through the religion of the rulers of the time? If you talk about ancient history, there were the rulers who were following Buddhism also, like Ashoka, he himself was a Buddhist, and there were many other rulers who were Jainism. So how can British categorize the ancient periods as Hindu period? It means they are overlooking or they are ignoring other religions. Similarly, the second period which they have termed as Muslim period is also not correct, because in South India and the Rajasthan states and the northeast, Mughals were not ruling. The Hindu rulers were ruling there. So it means Britishers are again ignoring the Hindu rulers. Only they are mentioning the Muslim ruler. And in British period also, there were a lot of provinces which were ruling independently. So it is completely incorrect to categorize Indian history as per the religion. To do so, it is to suggest that the lives and practices of the others do not really matter. We should also remember that even rulers in ancient India did not all share the same faith. I have talked already that even in the Hindu period which Britishers have mentioned, there were not only the Hindu rulers, there were Buddhist rulers also, there were Jainism rulers also. So many faiths they were ruling together. Moving away from the British classification, historians have usually divided Indian history into ancient history, medieval history, and modern history. And this is the perfect term for Indian division of the Indian history. And now we use this term in our history. This division too has its problem. It is periodization that is borrowed from the West. We have taken these three terms from the Western countries. What is colonial? The British came to conquer the country and establish their rule, subjugating local Nawabs and Raja. You will see how they established their control over the economy and society in the coming lesson. So the colonial is the process where a country tries to rule some other's territory. Britishers, they had come to rule in our country which was not theirs. So when you try to rule in some other's territory, that is known as colonialism. How do we know? In class 6 also, class 7th also, you have read about various sources of history. Historians use many things, many items to study about the history. They are manuscript, inscriptions, textual records, old buildings, coins, pots, ornaments, dead bodies. These are the various sources historians use. And now, how do we know about the British period? One important source is the official records of the British administration. As we already talked about that Britishers were very efficient and very talented to note down and record each and every document and each and every event. The British believed that the act of writing was very important, isn't it? Even now when you will visit some Indian office, you will see lot of files over there. So even in the offices, people keep records safe inside the files, and this practice was started from the British time. Every instruction, plan, policy, decision, agreement, investigation of the British time was clearly written up and it was preserved. Preserved means kept safely. The British also felt that all important documents and letters needed to be carefully preserved. Whenever you have very precious documents, like you have your birth certificate, you have your Aadhaar card, you have your mark sheet, and your parents have the records and the documents of land purchasing, they don't throw them everywhere. They keep them somewhere very safe, inside the locker or the cupboard or the suitcase or inside the box. So this is known as preserving them or keeping them safe. Similarly, Britishers, they also have set up record rooms attached to all the offices, archives and museums were also established to preserve all the important records. See, these all documents were made and binded together and covered so well. In the early years of 19th century, these documents were carefully copied out and beautifully written by calligraphists. Who are calligraphers? They are who have the specialization in the art of beautiful writing. By the middle of the 19th century, with the spread of printing press, multiple copies of these records were printed as proceedings of each government department. Now the requirement of calligrapher was not much, because their job was taken over by these printing machine, and they could write even more beautifully than those calligraphers. In 1920, in New Delhi, National Archive of India was built, which is located close to the Viceroy Palace, which is now known as Rashtrapati Bhavan. This location reflects the importance these institutions had in British imagination. See how beautiful this building or library is. It is now handed over to the Ministry of Tourism, and you cannot read all these books because they are very safely preserved. You can only look at them from a distance. Next is survey become important. In the villages, revenue surveys were conducted. Revenue means Britishers, when they had occupied our territory, they started taking tax from the villagers or the peasants, and to do that they had to first survey out which farmer is having how much of the land. So that record is known as survey, to count about each farmer, to count about each farmer's land in the village. Such process is known as survey. The effort was to know the topography. Topography means the uppermost layer of the earth, means what is the quality of the soil, is the soil good or bad, and if the soil is good, why the farmer is not growing more crop, and if he is growing more crop, then why he is not giving the more tax. So this was the actual aim of doing the survey, to take more and more tax from the Indian peasants. The practice of surveying also became common under the colonial administration. The British believed that a country had to be properly known before it could be effectively administered. So this is 1776 map of Bihar and Bengal made by Ranel. This is second map made by Feddenwall, complete map of India in 1793. Census operation were held every 10 years. So the introduction of census was also done by Britishers. Before that, the population of our country was not known. But when they started census means what? Census means counting the population. Then only we came to know that what was the population of that time in India and how much population has increased in 2020. So this way we come to know that the population, whether it has increased or it has decreased. Only the population is not counted in the census. Data is also collected during the census counting. like how many people live in which state, what caste of people are living in which state, what religions are being followed, and what occupation are being carried away by the people of the country. And sensor operation help us to know about the difference of male and female, like how many males are there, how many females are there, whether the number of female is increasing or decreasing. If decreasing, then what is the reason behind this, right? So this, all these other things also are being taken into consideration while counting the census. There are many other surveys apart from the population only. One is botanical survey. What botanical survey is? To find out how much forest cover is there in India or in any country. Like if we have this much of forest cover right now, and if we'll count the forest cover after 10 years, it should get increased, and if it will decrease, then it is a matter of worry. It means we need to grow more and more trees. So it helps government to frame various plans for the forest. Next is zoological survey. Zoological survey is also related to the animals. Like in past many years, government has made many projects to save the tiger. They have made many wildlife sanctuaries where tigers are kept to be protected, and hunting is banned. If government would have not done such surveys, they would have never come to know that the some animals are decreasing by the hunting of the people. So they made initiatives, and they thus increased the number of the lions and elephants in India now. Okay. Next is archaeological survey. Archaeological survey, when the historian, they try to find out the remains of the past. They try to find out how many places, how many cities are buried under the layer of the soil, under the layer of the earth. Next is forest survey, anthropological survey. These are example of some of the surveys. So thank you so much for today. We hope that you are liking our videos. Please do like, subscribe our channel to help us to motivate to make more videos for you.